Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today, we are finishing up our Halloween month set of spooky podcasts. So, I know this month or this time we didn't do as many as we had last time, but I think we got some good variation on a lot of the books.
Yeah, we can't do 13 and or more every single time. I think that definitely gets.
Would have killed myself if that happened again. So, but yeah. So this week we read The Plot, which is a Vault comic.
Yeah, this was a Patreon voted exclusive.
Yes. So speaking of Patreon, if y'all would like to vote, we always do one episode a month that is directly voted on by the patrons, and we just give you guys some options. You guys pick it. And so this was a winner of that. So we thank you all for voting. We had this poll was for newer horror series. So stuff that has come out in the last 3 years or so. Like there's been a bunch of new horror stuff coming out. So I hadn't read any of it.
Yeah.
So
Not to say that we won't read probably the rest of them too at some point.
Right. Yeah.
This was to make sure we get
up.
it in for, the spooky month.
Exactly. And then speaking of our Patreon, we got some changes coming on. We've been getting a lot of stuff going on at work and whatnot in our lives. So we are going to go to a bi-monthly format where we're going to release a podcast twice a month on the first and third weeks of every month. And then, and we're going to we want to also make some more exclusive stuff for our patrons. So we're going to do a special third podcast that's only going to be on Patreon exclusively. So that way we're giving a little bit more to Patreon, even though we're getting a little bit of a break for ourselves each month because it's just been crazy at work and everything. So.
Yeah, but this will be a two-pronged kind of thing because it's going to give us a little bit more time, but we'll be able to dive in and do maybe some thicker ones, some bigger books that we've been wanting to get at that maybe would take 2 normal episodes
or more. Yeah. I was like, hey, we could do like Berserk the entire series, or some more of those like Vinland Saga or something fatter or Watchmen or something that would just take a lot of episodes to get through and talk about that we could actually spend time on the Patreon and really work through and dive into it. So
we got twice a month and then a patron exclusive podcast.
Yes.
And the patrons still obviously will get to vote on the main podcast, one of the ones that we do that month in general. So
it's going to be the third
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So patrons
third week of the month.
Week a month. Yeah. And so patrons are getting a lot of extra love.
Yeah,
so definitely.
And I'm keeping my Swamp Thing and bi-monthly Hellblazers as well going on. So, and if you're a Patreon on the Hellblazer one, you're getting that every week as well too. So,
heck yeah.
And on the Hellblazer one, you also will get the same, extra podcast from Patreon as well.
Nice.
So that's just included. And then if you want the Hellblazer, you get an extra.
The
Hellblazer.
incentives are galore.
Yes, exactly. So we're trying to make it a little bit more exclusive for the patrons and get a little bit more bang for your buck. So that's coming out. We're starting next week. We're going to be doing Ghost World by Daniel Klaus. It was a movie in the 90s with Scarlett Johansson. It was one of her first movies, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And Steve Buscemi is in it. And I think it's about... I saw this movie a long time ago. It's one of my wife's favorite movies, and she loves this book as well. And we're going to be reading her copy of this because I didn't even buy this before. But I've been trying to get into more indie or alt comics is what I'll call them. Not indie, which is like independent produced ones, but like alternative comics. So the counterculture comics, especially Daniel Klaus. I've been reading a lot of his stuff, trying to get into more of that weird stuff. I don't know. I was never predispositioned to liking it. I'm more of like a traditional comics, not necessarily superheroes only, but the stuff that's just kind of slice of life or maybe apathetic teenagers and stuff like that. Like I was not really into that. So I'm trying to get into that more.
Get it? It's the what's the director of like Rushmore and Earl Tannenbaum.
Oh yeah. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but yes,
That it's like that style of
or like
comics.
the beatnik writers. You know, it's like
Yeah.
Factotum or something, or where it's just about a guy that's walking, going town to town. There's not really like a story necessarily, or if there is, it's like a bunch of separate narratives going on that are loosely connected, kind of thing. So I haven't really dug in too far. We've we've got this one coming up, and then if we like this one, if the listeners like it, we might do some more. I've just been really into it, trying to get into them. So.
Yeah, well, like we've touched some here and there. We did the Bechdel one for.
Yes, most of the ones we do are for like those months.
Yeah,
because for like Black History Month or LGBTQ month, and it's like that's because those tend to be slice of life stories or more independent published stuff. I don't know if they're necessarily alt comics because those are personal stories, so like biographies or things like that. Usually, these are like not biographies; they're about characters, but they're like,
but not heroes.
Not heroes, just normal people. Usually, weird people, fucked up people. So it's an interesting section of comics that
I look forward to seeing that because honestly, I don't think I've ever even seen Ghost World the movie. So
okay, maybe after this we should watch it.
Yeah, well, definitely after.
We should do that for a movie night or something. But
that sounds good.
So anyway,
but this week the plot.
But before we get into it,
sorry,
I want to say thank you to our patrons.
Yes,
Otaku Mike, Hoku, and our newest patron Christian. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
We appreciate you, and that's why we're trying to put some more Patreon content out there. Hopefully you feel like it's worth it, kind of thing. So we do appreciate you guys a lot. And anyway, back to this week's comic, The Plot. It is written by Tim Daniel and Michael Morrissey, with art by Joshua Dixon. And Hickson. And I've never seen anything drawn by Joshua Hickson. It's good. He's a really good artist for horror, especially this kind of like plant-based horror.
Oh, very much so.
Very cool. He could do like a Swamp Thing book, I think, pretty good. Especially if it leaves more into the horror stuff, it would be good. And then I've never read anything written by Tim Daniel, but I have read stuff from Michael Morrissey. He did the Barbarian. What's it called? No, it's called. What the heck is it called? It's about the barbarian. I think I can't remember what it's called. It's about the barbarian with an axe that drinks blood and talks. I did a video on it, like a review of the first issue. Why can't I remember what it's called? It's called Barbaric. That's what it's called.
Barbaric.
So that is a series that's ongoing right now that he's writing. He is very much he likes to write like sword and sorcery, but with a lot of funniness in it. Like maybe even like modern speech, which can be a little bit weird to me. Like it fits for his book Barbaric because that's his world and he created it from scratch. He just recently wrote the last issue of the Death Dealer comic that's coming out.
Oh, okay.
And the way he wrote just took me completely out of that world, and I was like, I don't like that. So hopefully he doesn't continue that arc. I think it was just a one-off story that he wrote, but it wasn't like bad or anything. But it was just like, wow, just like completely.
But it's weird.
The way that people are talking is not how it's been established in the rest of the world or whatever. So, but yeah. Anyway, so I like his writing when he's kind of writing his own thing, and that this is like an original horror story, It is. I will say this: this book is this certain book that we're reading. Volume 1 is 4 issues long, but the series overall is only 8 issues. I personally think they should have just released this as one big volume because it's not a hard read or anything.
I will say, yeah, the first volume was not hard, and then it leaves you on a weird kind of a cliffhanger. We'll just kind of throw it. We don't have to spoil the whole thing.
Yeah,
but it leaves on a weird cliffhanger, and I was like, okay, and I moved on with my day. Getting ready to we'll record with Matt later, and then I asked where Matt and I were discussing a little before, and he's like, I had to read the second one, right?
Yeah, I was like, well, you can't just leave it there.
Yeah, it's a weird spot,
and they were both on sale too because it's Halloween or whatever. So I'm like, okay, let me just pick these up, and so. Or they'll pick up the second one. And I read it. I'm like, why was this split into 2 volumes? It could have just been 8 volumes.
Money man.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what it was. But still, like, I would be pissed if I read that. Like, if I bought the first volume and I was like, really? Like, there's no complete story in it. It just leaves you hanging. And so we'll get to that. But But yeah, so this book starts off in 1974 in Cape Augusta, Maine, and there's like a creepy old house, as a lot of these these places
It's a
have.
Stephen King book.
It's kind of Stephen King-ish. Definitely deals with a family and stuff. But yeah, so there's this old house in Maine, and this guy named what's his name? The main guy.
Chase.
This guy named Chase pulls up to it, and it's his old family home. He's moving in there. We're not exactly sure why yet, but it's just him going there. And
the main thing we learn is that the family has a motto: "Give before you take." That's been passed.
Give before you receive.
I'm saying, yeah, give before you receive. Well, I thought it's a take too, but it's
no. I think it's give before you receive, because it's not like you're taking something. Something is giving you something back.
Yes.
It's not like it's not like a take a penny, leave a penny kind of thing. So, but yeah, there's this family motto established with his family, and also when Chase gets into this house, there's no electricity, I guess, or something, and he just kind of breaks in too. He just kind of kicks the door in, and it's in the middle of the night, and he's drinking, and he's got like a sleeping bag. So it's kind of like, okay, what's this dude doing? And we see the narration over these panels is someone talking about how awesome their father was. Like, my dad was a great guy, and he gave me everything I needed to be the person I am now. And that's where we learn the motto, where he always said, you have to give to receive, and this kind of thing. And so it turns out the person talking is Chase's brother, Charles, I believe, right? That's his name?
No, Charles is the dad.
Oh, wait, who's the brother? I never remember people's.
Yeah, names. I don't. Honestly, I don't. I don't remember getting his name.
I don't remember. Yeah, you're right. Charles is the dad, because the dad has just died.
Yeah.
So his brother, we don't need to say his name.
It's well, he's not even as big and as important.
Right. Yeah. But his brother, Chase's brother, who's giving the speech. So Chase is at their house because the dad just died. The brother's at the funeral or the wake, I guess maybe.
Yeah.
Giving a speech about his dad. And we see he's got a wife, and they have kids, and it seems like, and he runs like a pharmaceutical company, so he seems pretty well off, whereas Chase seems pretty not, like he's drunk in an old house, so we get a little bit about that, and then I thought this was like a great way to get you into the comic immediately. First off, they start you with well, this is kind of weird and ominous, this wake and this the speech that the other brother's giving. And then we go to the other brother's house, and he this is after the wake, he
lives in a
nice beach house, like overlooking the water, like hanging out over the water. Looks like Iron Man's house.
Yeah, exactly.
All glass and everything. So they're well off, because also he runs a pharmaceutical company. And you see him and his wife talking, and then they're like, I think everything's gonna be just fine.
Yeah. Well, they're like, well, the kids will need to work on things, but and that's what we do learn the kids' names because they become important. Zach and Mackenzie.
Yeah. So just as they're like, we think everything's gonna be just fine, they kiss each other, and then all of a sudden a shadow appears, and the dad looks behind him, and there's this giant, we'll call him Swamp Thing in this evil Swamp Thing.
We can't say Swamp Thing. It's man of the swamp.
Yeah, thing of the swamp.
Thing of the swamp.
Yeah. but yeah, so this thing of the swamp, it appears right behind them, and then it grabs both of them and snaps the wife's neck, throws her out the window through the glass onto the beach, and then pins the dad down and gives him a big old kiss.
I didn't know when I saw that at first. I was like, did this go Looney Tunes right away?
Yeah,
what?
Yeah, and then he proceeds to throw the guy through the window after that.
Yeah, but then when he lands on the ground and blood is coming out of his face, I was like, oh, okay, well maybe not.
Yeah, and then the brother is able to say the wife's name last. Her name was Wendy, I guess, and then they both die on the beach. Well, I guess the guy's not fully dead, but then the Swamp Thing comes out and jumps back down and then starts to smash his head into the sand, and then whispers in the guy's ear, "First you must give," very creepily. And then we cut back to Chase, who is, I guess, it must be the next day.
Yeah,
Chase is doing some demo on the house.
Remodeling.
He's remodeling the shitty house. And then he gets like a telegram? I was like,
Yeah, I think it's a telegram.
I didn't know people. I guess it's 1974, so that's not weird. But yeah, a telegram that says like, oh, your brother's been killed and his wife, so now like you are the caretaker of his kids. And so then the next thing we see is Chase is at the funeral of his brother and his sister-in-law, and he's talking about Charles.
Okay, so it was Charles too. So I guess he was.
Okay,
Charles
so it's
Jr.
Charles II.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So there you go.
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah. And then so he's he's doing a nice eulogy about his brother. Although it does seem like not that there was like a falling out between him and his brother, but it was more like him and his family.
Yeah.
Like Chase has been the black sheep, we'll say, of the family because he's not doing the things that you want him or that they wanted him to do. I don't know what they wanted him to do. They never really go into what exactly he didn't want to do more than the family. Kind of thing. I thought they were gonna like reveal some shit, but they don't.
But
they
yeah,
don't.
he didn't know.
And even in the second trade, they
Okay.
don't. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I read the second trade too, because it was like there's this mystery about this family, and then it was like none of it gets answered. Like none of that gets answered. So I was like, okay. Anyway, you're just leaving these breadcrumbs that you're not gonna explain fully or pick up or whatever. All right, we'll just
This is for the birds.
yeah, we'll just leave those there, and maybe we'll do a plot. Number 2 or whatever. The
Unanswered questions.
yeah, the lot. So
Plot 2, 6 feet deeper.
there you go. So then we see, this is where we meet the kids, Mackenzie and Zach, and we see that they're not transitioning well with their parents' death, of course. So the boy doesn't talk out loud anymore. He just talks to their German Shepherd dog, and Mackenzie's kind of the older sister, and she's watching out for him, but she's also like sassy because she's a teenager, but also she's going through all this shit with her parents dying, and they're giving they're like, I guess they got the ashes of their parents and they're throwing them out into the ocean like the Big Lebowski. Luckily they don't blow back into the brother's face in this, but that's what it made me think. I thought it would be super ridiculous if they just
Back in the
face,
the brother's face.
What the fuck, man?
Now he talks.
Now he talks. The brother talks. So, of course, now that that's done, the funeral's over. They're moving in with Charles. And Charles, the only house he has... I'm sorry, Chase. And the only house Chase has is the old family house that's, like, run down. He's been remodeling it, working on it. But it ain't really ready for, like, move-in, especially of kids and stuff.
Yeah.
So, they get there. And the second they get there, we get the old sheriff being like, what are you doing here? Moving back in,
exactly.
huh?
Yeah, the sheriff, what are you doing here? Oh, are we going to get back? Nope.
No, yeah, we don't get any backstory. You never find out what happened, why he's so suspicious of them or whatever. But, yeah, Magnus, the sheriff, is here just to be a dick, I guess, and be like, you don't belong here. Get out of here. We don't like your family. The Blaines are a curse upon this city or whatever, this town.
Yep.
So he just, from, I guess, high school or whatever, I don't know, just doesn't like Chase. Chase. Doesn't like Chase. I'm going to get their names eventually. So, doesn't, like, Magnus is an easy one to remember because it's such an odd one. Yeah. But, like, all of them are named fucking Chuck or Charles or Chase or whatever. So I'm like, okay. It's one of those CH names. I got it. But anyway, they have this big argument. And, of course, like, the kids go in the house and they see like how weird and decrepit and all this stuff is. And then we see like a first like vision that Mackenzie has. She goes into a room and she like trips on something. And then it's like roots have attached to her foot, which are what tripped her. And then we see like this tree growing behind her. And there's like a dead woman hanging upside down on the trunk of it. And is whispering to her, and it's just weird. I didn't
too much.
Yeah, Blaine. And we don't know exactly why that's happening. And then the other big important part, which this didn't like click to me that this was such a big important thing. But we see the brother running, catching frogs in the outside. This is all going on while Chase is
getting chewed out by the sheriff.
Yeah, so this is like all concurrent. So the brother is chasing frogs with the dog and goes and finds this big ass bog in the middle of a field. And he falls in, and as he falls in, it just pulls him down. We see there's like lots of roots and everything in this water. It's kind of like reminding me of Lord of the Rings when Frodo falls in the evil bogs or whatever, where the battlefield that was a bog now. Can't remember what it's called.
Where all the elves and stuff from battles, the old age, the second age battles. Yeah.
Yes, and they all try to pull him down, and then Gollum pulls him out or whatever, or Sam pulls him out, one of the two. So yeah, like he gets pulled down, and that's like the end of the first issue. So this definitely has like a good flow. This book does, because like there's a lot of cliffhangers and a lot of making you want to continue reading, and it's not like super verbose either. So you're just getting like little things you need to know and some dialogue, and then like maybe a little narration and stuff. But it flows well. That's one thing I liked about this, is it made me want to get all the way to the end, like just cause like it had a good flow to it and storyline. And then so the second issue starts with this girl named what's her name, Reese. Yeah. And she's, I guess, in jail. I wasn't exactly sure what it was that happened here. She was in jail because of what? Or she was at the jail.
I don't think she's in jail because she's like, I think she's just at the station.
Oh, okay. That's what I mean. Like at the station. I don't mean like in jail, like behind bars, but she's sitting down at the police station. And this is what I assumed, because basically she saved the kid. I'm thinking she saved the kid, and this is after that. Because you were confused, because this happens first in this book.
But
it's I think it's supposed to be after she saved the kid, because like what happened, and then she says, "Oh, I pulled the kid out." So I pulled Zach out, and for some reason she was at the house. I'm assuming it's because her and Chase
had a thing.
They have a relationship past going on, and so she was there maybe to welcome him, kind of like the sheriff was, and.
But hopefully better than the sheriff.
yeah. I just mean like he was there to see them as they came in. But she is throwing up like pond scum is what it looks like to me. Like gross pond dirt or bog dirt. We'll say bog scum or bog scum.
Bog scum.
And that's because she had pulled Zach out from the water, so she had to like dive in there. She's in. Okay, so after that, she goes to the hospital because she vomits all over the floor. The police are like, "We got to take you to the hospital." And then the Magnus, the sheriff, is like, "What was going on? Like, what happened there?" And basically, she doesn't tell him anything that matters. It was just like, "I saved the kid. He fell in the water." Like, and then the sheriff's like, "I know there's more about that bog than that family's leading on to." So like, he does mention, and I think you said this, that the family seems to be really well off and do well, but the people around them don't.
Yeah.
Like, people go missing. Stuff ends up happening to people that they value but aren't part of the family.
Yeah, they kind of, there's like a line that says like the Blaines do well, but the people around them don't. The people that they are close to don't.
Yeah. So we get the flashback as I guess they're recounting what happened before she got to the police station and everything, where she saved the kid. Magnus ends up doing CPR on him because he was drowning. So,
and that one I thought was interesting too, because I got a little confused because it shows like some kind of like bog, like they were like hands on him down there, and then the hand that reaches to pull him up is like boggish too, and it's got like viney looking things, and then it shows a woman in all
bog
woman,
a dead looking bog woman.
Green and browns and stuff standing there. Like I thought she pulled him up maybe, and then she, maybe Reese came upon him, but it wasn't 100%.
What I got from that, because there's a lot of double imagery in this book of someone who is having a vision, because there's a lot of like moments where someone is like, when she falls, when the roots take her shoe, when Mackenzie's in the house for the first time, she might see the roots and the tree or whatever, but no one else is seeing that. Yeah. So I figured that's what this was, it's actually Reese pulling him out, but he's seeing, these bog people, the bog lady or bog whatever, looking at him, and what the bog lady says to him is, she points at him and goes, "Blaine blood," and so that's just his last name because he's Blaine, related. So there's something going on with the Blaine family blood being that part of that bloodline and this house. We're not sure exactly what yet. And I still don't know after reading the full book. but yeah, so the sheriff ends up saving Zach, and so that's nice that he did that, even though he's a dick to Chase. But yeah, like, and then the sheriff says, like, I don't think you should be allowed to watch these kids, basically. Like,
yeah, but I have the authority to take them away if I have to.
Yeah, and I will. So we're giving him like a southern accent just because they're in Maine. So he's probably like, the authority to take those kids, eh? Or whatever they say.
Whatever Maine accent sounds.
I'm trying to channel my whatever, like, Dairy Maine from Stephen King novels. Like, what do they sound like in those audiobooks or TV shows? Anyway, so then the family's just kind of like at dinner having a fucked up dinner after that experience. Mackenzie doesn't say anything about seeing roots in her foot, and that was the other thing. I wasn't sure because they show her like staring at the tree and like the whispers are happening, but I don't know if she saw it or not because she doesn't mention like, hey, by the way, I saw a weird spectral tree in this house. I would be fucking terrified seeing a dead woman body upside down on a creepy fucking tree.
Just out of nowhere in the room.
Yeah. But she's not fazed by it at all, apparently. Or at least maybe she didn't see it. Maybe it hasn't quite got to her. I was wondering, like, maybe is she like the actual daughter of Blaine, of Charles Blaine? Or was it maybe she's adopted or something? She's a little bit older. I didn't know. I wasn't sure. But they do, but like, yeah, she doesn't mention any of it. And Reese is also there eating with them now that I guess she's out of the hospital kind of thing.
She's better.
She's better. They don't really explain like why she's back here, but I guess she just wanted to go check on the kids. So that's where we find out that like her and Chase had like a bit of a relationship, but that Chase kind of ran away from home and left her high and dry. We don't know why. I still don't know why.
Yeah, exactly. They had a relationship. It didn't end well.
Yeah, and then we get like the Chase trying to be the dad, like fill in for the dad and get like lunches ready for the school day and for the next week. You know, because it is the next week now. So like before school starts, he's getting all the kids ready, taking them to school. And like one thing I did like about this that is creepy, that's why I was saying like maybe they're not always seeing these ghosts and stuff. But like as he's cutting the sandwich, we see back behind him in the pantry that he was just in getting bread and stuff, that there's like a dead guy just hanging out in the pantry. Like, all right, but like he's not paying any attention to him, and the ghost or the specter isn't like saying anything to him either. So I don't know if he would have seen him if he turned around, or if it's just kind of we're here.
Yeah, are they watching them and they're there, or because the one that it was very creepy too is the boy's brushing his teeth and he like looks down in the he spits in the sink, and then as he spits down, like in behind him is it kind of almost looks like the bog lady again, like just standing there creepily.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was a bog lady or if it was like a kid version, or a kid that was haunting this place too, or whatever. Because there's multiple ghosts. There's like a man ghost, and all of them seem to be part of the Blaine family, though.
Probably
a lot of them do. So because later on, there's
Charles,
in,
the one that just passed.
The brother, yeah. So or their father, so, yeah. And so they're getting ready for school. Of course, Reese is the teacher at this school. They just really like
what a coincidence.
Yeah, a coincidence. And then like Reese or Mackenzie is seeing, like, while she's in class, there's like the classic Michael Myers moment when Laurie Strode is in class and she looks out the window and sees Michael Myers just standing across the street. That happens here, except with like a bog monster ghost or whatever, and or bog woman ghost. So Mackenzie sees this woman. Actually, does she see her? Or does she just? I don't think she sees her. She doesn't turn, but the bog woman is just in the window. So
staring.
I think all of these are for us, like for the audience.
Yeah.
Like these little flashes of ghosts, because the characters are not seeing them or referencing them at all. But I think that's just for us to be like, oh shit, stuff's going on, and they don't realize it, which is kind of clever. I haven't read too many books like that where it's just for us, the reader, that we're getting this ominous ghost happenings that we're seeing, but no one else is seeing a lot of it. And then like the next big thing that happens is Chase. He's still remodeling stuff in the house, so he's got all his tools, and he notices by the water heater there's like a cement wall that's not original to the house, and he's like, "What the heck?"
Yeah, because it's like kind of like interlaid in a brick wall.
Yeah, and he notices a crack on it, and it's leaking water, and he's like, "Great." like the water heater pipes go through here. Maybe there's a water heater leak. I got to like figure it out. So he's going to bust open this wall. And as he does, he finds a bunch of bricks and vines and everything inside of it. And then he pulls one of the bricks and all this water falls out. And it's gross bog water. And he finds a dead body that also falls out. And it's like, what the hell? So, of course, that's ominous. That's the end of issue 2. So we leave it
and see, and then that was when, like, did he see that dead body or?
That was a dead body.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was for sure. Because he sees it. He's like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Yeah. Okay.
And then issue 3, the sheriff is there being like, so that body was a hobo or like a homeless person that's, I guess, worked at the house or something. Or I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was. But, right. That's what it was, right? He worked at the house.
Oh, okay. Maybe I missed that.
Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I thought this was so it starts off with like we see through the ages. So it's like 1891, 1942, 1963 at the Blaine house. There's all these weird deaths that are happening.
Yeah. And then now in 1974, they find this body.
Yeah, this body. So that's why the sheriff has seen or noticed all these people dying around the Blaines in mysterious ways, and he knows something's going to happen. And so I believe this is a homeless man that they find, but I could be wrong. I can't remember. I don't think he was tied to anything important.
Yeah, they definitely said it's weird because he also doesn't know where he came from.
Maybe that's what it was. Like they're like, we don't know who this is. Maybe it's just a John Doe.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then they're still like, maybe Chase needs a psych evaluation too. Like, what's up with this guy?
Yeah. So the sheriff comes up from the basement as he's there with his deputy, looking at this or they're putting this body in a body bag, and Chase is not there when he goes to like question Chase about exactly what happened again, because Chase also said when he broke the wall open, all this water poured out, but there's no water in the basement. So the water seemed to be special.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But
and
the
it's
body
bone dry is
yeah.
what they said.
Yeah. So that water, the bog water, was all in his head, but the actual body was not. So, so when the sheriff Magnus goes up to ask Chase about his story again, Chase is gone. He's already at a bar drinking. Apparently, that's his old ways. He gets in a fight just to, I guess, get some of his anger and aggression out and whatever he's feeling about all this. So he gets the shit beat out of him by like 5 guys. And he just leaves the kids at the house with Reese, which if I was Reese, I'd be like, what the fuck? But,
These ain't my kids, yeah. But Reese is nice enough to at least stay, I guess. So, they are children.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how old Mackenzie is.
She seems like she's like 14 or 15
yeah,
or something.
Like definitely, obviously not quite old enough where she feels comfortable with it, especially because they still just lost their parents not that long ago.
Yeah. And so they're all sitting on a couch at night, and like I said, Chase hasn't even come back yet. He's getting the shit beat out of him right now, and they're asleep on this couch, but it faces a window. I'm like, this is an old house because that should face a TV, is what that should face. But
yeah.
It's facing a big ass window, and the dog is with them, and he hears something, and he perks up, and he looks out the window, and he sees the Swamp Thing man shape coming in the window, and he growls, but then it disappears, and the dog's like. And like kind of like skulks away sadly or like scaredly, like scared. I don't know, scared.
Yeah, scared. He was scared.
Yes, and then as he walks away, Reese wakes up and she sees the swamp man just staring at her through the window, and he's saying, "Give," and yeah, it's creepy. And then she decides, it'd be a great idea. Just to go down into the basement where that guy was found, the dead body. And I'm going to leave the kids on this couch where that swamp monster was. And I'm going to go down to that basement, and I'm going to look in that hole where that body was found. And she finds a bunch of reel-to-reel tapes, which I was like, what the fuck did she just find here? Because they do not explain it right away. It takes a couple pages.
Yeah, that's true. Because I didn't.
They're just round discs.
I didn't know what they were at first either. I was like, are they old dinner plates? Or
I was like, are these like shot? What are those like? Shooting
the shooting
plates?
discs? Yeah.
Pull. Yeah. Like I don't understand what these are because they look kind of like targets or something, but they are like reel-to-reel tapes. So this is the 70s, so that wasn't that uncommon. Which is also like they make a thing because she finds these tapes. And then she takes him to the school later and mentions well, thank God, we have the funding cut on our school because we still have this reel-to-reel player. I'm like, it's 1974. You would have a reel-to-reel player because what else are you going to have? You don't want an 8-track player, or you're not going to have a CD player. Maybe a record player. I don't fucking know what you would have, but they don't have, like, if you're playing like a historical document or something that's on recordings, it's going to be on a reel-to-reel back then. Yeah. So I thought it'd be like if you said like, oh, a projector. I'm glad we have a projector. It's like, well, that's the only thing we were like a film projector camera. Yeah. Like that's the only thing we were allowed to use back then because that's all they had. They didn't have digital cameras. So I thought that was a weird line. That's the kind of thing I'm saying. Like, I don't know who wrote that line, but when Morrissey, whatever, or was it Michael Morrissey, writes books, sometimes it seems like he throws in common sensibilities that aren't necessarily fitting of the time period and whatnot, or the place. So anyway, that's a little bit later where you look at they listen to the recordings. But first, Chase is brought back to his house by the sheriff, and of course, the sheriff reminds him again, "I will take your fucking kids away because you're a horrible person. We don't like you. Chase, you fucking suck, and I'm gunning for you. I'm looking for you." We also see as Chase walks back into the house. He looks up and at a window, and I don't know if he sees this, but there is a ghost in that window it's like he looks up at the window, then he looks back down, then the ghost appears for us in the window. It's like a weird
so we don't know if he saw it or not.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And then we get
Zach is at school the next day.
Oh yeah, this is the next day. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he looks like he has to use the restroom. The teacher's like, "It's down the hall, go."
Yeah, Reese is the teacher too. So she's like, "Yeah, go to the bathroom. Here's your hall pass or whatever." And so he goes to the bathroom, and as he's walking into the stall, he hears something splashing in the toilet. He looks down, he finds a frog, and he's like, "I'm gonna grab this frog for some fucking reason. Don't grab toilet frogs, all right?"
Yeah.
Then as he's about to grab that, a bunch more frogs start coming out of the drain. And it freaks him out because also a hand reaches out from the drain.
This is definitely one of my favorite panels in the whole comic.
A hand comes out of the toilet drain amongst the frogs and reaches out to him. And then we see as he runs out, there was like another ghostly person standing behind the door that he opens to leave. And yeah, he's just freaked out. So
it was a very Evil Dead-esque moment, it felt like.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. It does because it's a toilet and stuff. It's a little comedy in there, or it could be. It also is terrifying for some people because the idea of like I'm sitting down, you could grab my ass or whatever. But then Chase, he's still at his house. He doesn't know this is going on with Zach, and he's sleeping his hangover / beating off right now.
Yeah,
and he wakes up in a fright and he sees. I'm assuming this was the brother Charles, right?
Is it the brother?
I'm not sure if it's the dad or the brother because he says Charles, and I think it's the brother because he's dressed like the brother was that night.
Oh yeah, maybe that makes more sense.
And he's got the mustache. We don't know what the dad looked like, so I'm assuming this is the brother Charles. Yeah. And he's all covered in bog water, and he looks all rotten, like he's been sitting in water for a long time. And it looks like he's trying to say something to Chase, and Chase is like, Charles, what's going on? What happened? And Charles goes over to him, like grabs his shoulder, and he's just like, and he's like, I don't understand. And then he like dissolves in his hands, and turns into like floods the whole floor with water. But of course, that water's not real. And then it turns out Chase was just dreaming that.
Or was he? Because his hands are covered in like pond
slime, and then there is a little bit of water on the ground.
Bum.
And then he gets a phone call. And finds out, okay, Zach had this thing happen to him at school where he got scared in the bathroom. He peed his pants. And then Reese says, or actually Mackenzie calls out Reese because Reese is like, don't worry, I'm here for you. You know, I wouldn't let anything happen to Zach or Mackenzie. And then Mackenzie's like, oh yeah? Then how come you were down?
Yeah, why'd you leave us on the couch the other night and then you went downstairs?
Yeah, because it turns out she followed Reese down there and saw Reese find these tapes. And then, or these reel-to-reels, and then keep them and not tell Chase about them. So Mackenzie calls her out, and Reese is like, "Well, okay, about that. Like, I'm not hiding anything from you. I just got him and didn't really know what to do with him, and I figured I got a reel-to-reel here, So like, we'll listen to these tapes together then. And I was going to let you know before I did that.
But. I did like, Chase is like, I need to listen to these right now.
Right now. And I was like, don't do it. I was worried there's going to be like, I didn't know where this story was going to go. I'm like, is this going to be like Necronomicon?
Oh, yeah.
Or some shit? Like, Nicto Verata, Klepto Verata Nictu or whatever. It's like, oh, don't say it.
Don't say the words.
From the Book of the Dead. But yeah, that's not what it was. What it is it's like, I guess it's the dad, or I'm assuming it's the dad, talking about like the family curse, but talking about the family curse and saying it's coming for him, or is it the grandfather? Is it the grandfather?
I think it's the grandfather.
Okay, it's the grandfather, saying, like, the curse is coming for me. I tried to avoid it, but it's coming for sure. I'm so sorry. I don't want to do this. And this is what happened. I don't know why he would record this. This is like a confession to murder, but he buries it in the wall with the guy that he murdered.
It's for his family to find. I don't know.
With the dead body?
Yeah, with the dead body.
That's nice of him. So it's all for us to understand kind of what's going on. Although it doesn't explain that much. It just says like, it's coming for me. There's a bog, or there's a curse around our family. Or I don't even know. He doesn't even use the word curse. He just says like, it's got to do with our family. And, I had to kill this guy and I'm sorry. I didn't want to, but it was coming for me. And then that's kind of where it leaves it,
And that's where because he's like, this guy was a vagrant. And so I didn't think, anybody would miss him. And like the bog, needed something. And so I gave it to it. But yeah, they're still coming.
Yeah. And then, of course, as this is playing, stuff starts happening around the room.
The bog hears them.
The bog hears them. And the bog starts filling up a light bulb with bog water. And, of course, that's not good. And it explodes. And then as the lights go out, luckily, Reese had a fucking flashlight on her.
She's a teacher. She's prepared.
I guess. And as she turns the light on, we see old swampy bog monster is like the shadow of him is behind it. It's kind of like Dracula, the Bram Stoker one from the 90s, where whenever Dracula's walking, his shadow's doing something else. So it's like, yeah, wherever the bog monster is, his shadow is here spooking these people out. So, but it was creepy. And the other thing I was wondering about this is because later on, I don't know if this happens in this one or the second one. They kind of blend together for me. But she gets kind of possessed by...
It's this one.
Okay. Yeah, so I was like, I wonder if she's already... Like, if that bog monster came into her and that's why she went...
That night, maybe?
Down into there and then opened the wall. But she's not showing it in her eyes because later on when they show her, like, possessed, she has red eyes. Yeah. So... just like Swamp Thing. And so, so I don't know if they're insinuating that she has this bog monster in her right now, but that's kind of what it feels like, possibly. And basically the tape, I like this part. The tape, I don't know if this would happen. The tape, when it's done, is just on and repeating the word give, 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 give. So it seems like the bog is asking them to give something so they can receive whatever the bog has to give them. Now, we're saying the bog. Yeah. We're saying the bog, but that doesn't say that. We're insinuating, because of what I know happens later, that it's the bog.
Well, no. The grandfather did say that the bog requires something. So from...
Right, but it doesn't... To me, a bog is a place, right? It's not like a... It's not a demon. I'm thinking the bog is the home of a demon or something. So.
Possible. I could think of a place as like being like... taken over by like a spirit or
right, but I don't know why. I just didn't feel like that in this to me.
Okay, I got that.
Well, it could be taken over by a spirit, but that spirit is the thing, not the bog. You know what I'm saying? Like, this makes it seem like later on, the bog itself is the thing. Like, there's no mention of like another higher deity or lower deity or like a demon or something. Yeah. That is the reason for this. It just the bog calls.
The bog itself.
The bog itself calls, and if you give, you will receive. So, yeah, that's kind of like where it leaves you hanging on the third issue there. And then the fourth issue is the last issue of this trade. We start off with a young Chase and a young Reese, and they're at I guess we're like learning about what happened with them, like why Chase left or whatever. And this is like the first or the last time they hung out, right?
I think so, yeah.
So there's like a bonfire in the Blaine backyard next to this bog, I'm assuming. And Chase and Reese go off for a bit. or actually Reese goes off, and Charles goes up to Chase and goes, "Hey, buddy, you got to make your move, man. She's totally into you. You should totally go for it." So good big brother, helping him out. So Chase follows, and he goes through the woods where Reese was walking, and she goes all the way to, we follow her first into the woods after Chase goes into, so she's further than him. And she thinks she's following Chase. She sees someone in front of her, and it's like, come on, but it's in the shadows. So she's following it with the lantern, and it goes all the way to the bog, so it leads her. And then she's like, Chase, we're not supposed to, as this person walks into the bog water. And then she follows and kind of looks down into the bog water, and then it looks like Chase's face screaming under the water. And she's like, what? And then it jumps out and pulls her into the water head first, and then gives her a big old smooch on the face, too.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the kiss is necessarily, but
gotta get them bog kisses.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But this is like, so the last time we saw the bog monster kiss someone, they
died.
Yeah, they died. So I was like, okay, so she died, or what happened here? But she doesn't die, because the next panel we see her, she's at, we already know she lived from that moment, right? Because she's older now in the comic. That was a flashback. So now we see her talking to Magnus at a diner, and it turns out Magnus used to have a crush on her, and that's why he hates Chase, most likely, is because Chase left her hanging, and then she wouldn't go out with him after that. And he's like, it's Chase's fault.
It's all Chase's fault.
It's all Chase's fault. It's not because I'm a dickhead or anything. So yeah, and then she warns Magnus, like, don't go, like, don't harass Chase, like, stay away from the Blaine house. You don't want none of that. And he's like, I'll do what I want. Just because you love him doesn't mean I won't, kick his ass or whatever.
Well, she says that, like, yeah, like, things are different with them, but, like, they didn't find her until the next day, and it was Charles that found her, but everybody blamed Chase for it.
Yeah,
like,
but, like,
doing something to her.
But the interesting thing is, we don't know, like, okay, so she fell in the water but didn't drown? Like, what the fuck? Like, they don't explain.
Nope.
So what happened?
You
know what? Maybe under
kiss?
the water, it wasn't a kiss. It was breathing air into her lungs.
Oh, there you go. It was saving her.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, what are you doing down here? You're gonna drown here. Yeah.
And then we see in the window next to her, the bog monster is looking at her like.
Maybe this is about the bog monster trying to find love with the Blaine family.
That's what it is.
It's just like, hey, if you give me love, you will receive love. And they're like, oh, you want a dead body? And he's like, no, I want your love.
Yeah. I don't know what it exactly is. But we cut to Chase. We cut away from the diner, and we cut to Chase, who is visiting his mother, which we didn't know was alive yet, but she is still alive. She is at, like, an old folks home, and apparently she had, like, a stroke or something. Or whatever happened to the dad.
Messed her up.
Fucked her up. Whatever she saw. And so she has not talked. Kind of like Zach hadn't talked, really, once the parents died, or his parents died at the beginning of this book. The mom hasn't talked at all. She's, like, kind of in shell shock. But all of a sudden, I guess he maybe got a call from the old folks home, because she's been talking now, and she's been drawing something. And then what we find out is she's been drawing, as Chase goes up and kind of tries to talk to her, that she's saying, like, I'm sorry, I didn't, the past. And she's just kind of, like, being in, like, a manic state. But she's drawing the attic door. And then as Chase looks at it, at the drawing, he goes, like, oh, the attic? And she's like, don't go in the attic. And she, like, freaks out at him. And he's like, what are you doing to her? Like, it seemed like he was blaming the old folks home. Like what's going on? Like, why is she freaking the fuck out? And doesn't understand that this is, like, something to do with the house and the curse and whatever the fuck's going on. Like, the stuff that happens in here, I'm like, you would think you'd tie it to what's going on, all the other shit that's been happening the last 3 issues. But that is not the case. He doesn't tie it there real quick. So then we cut to the Sheriff Magnus, and he's talking about the body that they found at the house with his deputy. And it turns out, because he's like, hey, we did that. We got the results back from the test of the ground, because Chase had said it was wet, filled with water. We tested the ground. Nothing there except it had levels of, like, acidity and, like, pickling juice, basically. Like it pickled this body. And and whatever it was also spilled on the ground, but it's not there. It wasn't water or whatever. So it seems like, I don't know, something weird's happened. And it's almost like the bog pickled this guy and like preserved his body over time. And so I don't remember if they say why. I know what it is. He goes there because he needs to test the water in the bog to see, like, oh, maybe because he's like, wait, the house is far away from the bog, so this body being there doesn't make any sense unless it was brought there by Chase, and then Chase said, oh, there was water everywhere, and I broke open this wall, but he's full of shit. So the sheriff is like, I got him now. Like, there's something going on. If I test the bog water, it will tell me, that Chase is full of shit, and then I'll catch him. So he goes there in the middle of the night. As you do, he's going to go on private property in the middle of the night, not with a warrant. So
it's fine.
It's fine,
But hey, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, right? That's what police do.
In the meantime, we see the kids or at least Zach is scared. He's sleeping with Chase. Mackenzie comes in, decides to sleep with them too. And then all of a sudden they realize their dog is not with them. And they're like, what? Where's the dog? What's the dog's name, John? Tage?
I didn't get the dog.
Tag?
Tag?
It's Tage. And I was like, who the fuck is Tag? Because like, where's Tag? I'm like, or Tage. I don't know what the fuck it is. It's the weirdest dog name I've ever heard. So I don't know.
Ruffy.
Advantage is what it's. I don't know. But yeah, so anyway, then we cut to the outside where it's pouring rain, of course. And this is apparently the beginning of like the biggest fucking storm of all time. They don't say that on the radio or anything. No one knows about it until the second volume, which you didn't read, but I did. This storm continues like pouring like Noah levels of rain, fills up all the ground to like 5 feet. So like the bottom floor of the house is covered with water later on. But we don't know that yet because they have not said that. So it is just a very bad night to be out in the wilderness, or not in the wilderness, but at a bog. I'm sure this bog is about to overflow too, by the way. But the sheriff is there and he's about to test some water, get some soil samples, whatnot. And as he's doing that, he thinks, or he hears someone behind him, and then he thinks it's going to be Chase. And he's like, listen, and then he looks up and he gets stabbed in the chest by this person with like some sort of hook thing. I don't know what the fuck it was.
Yeah, I don't know. It was something he brought with him, some kind of hook.
Yeah, and we see who it is actually Reese. Reese pushes him into the bog, and she's got possessed. Oh, this time it's green eyes, and the other one in the second volume is red eyes. So I don't know what the difference of the eye color means, but either way,
she tried to warn him.
Yeah, she says so it's got the voice of the bog. Whenever the bog talks, it's in like black, talking bubbles. And so her voice is now in these black talking bubbles, and it says, I tried to warn you, give. And then she pushes the sheriff into the bog, and then all these hands come out, all these decrepit, dead hands come out and grab him and pull him down into the bog.
And then the swamp monster comes out and kisses him.
Yep, just like he tends to do. Or maybe he's not giving him air this time.
No.
And so then all of a sudden she snaps out of it and is like, Magnus? And then she like lets go, and of course the dog is there now for some reason. We don't know why, but the dog followed them. And then she like snaps to, but she's not fully snapped to. It's like she's in shock now or something, because her eyes don't have the green possession tint on them now, but she's just wide-eyed now, saying, Magnus, I tried. And she's very like in shock about what just happened. And
yeah,
whatever.
I assume she tried to fight it is what she was saying. But.
Yeah. And then of course Chase, who's been looking for the dog in the house, hears the dog whining outside, opens the door. The dog runs in like, get me the fuck in this house.
Don't go out there. Shit's happening. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Chase, as he lets the dog in, starts hearing a thumping noise. And it turns out it's the attic door. And so he's like, oh, I got to go up there and see what's going on. Because, what if it's a leak or something? It says thump. I don't know if he thinks it's like a leak, like a drip, or if it's like, what would be thumping up there? A raccoon or some shit? I don't know.
Well, he's like, he says it's trying to lure me.
Yeah, but he also says this is not real, or it's not real. So he decides to go up there, and he goes up there, and there's nothing up there initially. He's like, okay, we're all in the clear. So he goes up further.
It's a very like nicely well put together like
Writing
little
desk.
writing space.
Yeah. And there is a manuscript on top that says the account of life and death in the New World by, or as told by Victus Blaine. So this is the initial Blaine founder. And we didn't know what that was or who that guy was, but it's like the great granddad of the Blaines. And he is, I'll just spoil it. He is the one that started this curse or this deal with the devil or whatever the fuck it is.
The deal with the boss.
And so he starts to read it. And as he reads it, the door slams shut. He tries to go over and open it. But then all of a sudden, roots start springing out of the floor. Water comes rising up out of the boards. And he tries to open it, but it's no use. Water starts pouring out of the ceiling and everything too. And he's yelling to the kids, and the kids are yelling at him, like, what's going on? And he's like, it's okay. And they're like, Uncle Chase, please. And then the water slowly rises, and he eventually just gets covered with water, and that's where it cuts off. That's where this book ends.
And then I turn the page and I'm like, okay, what happens? And then there's nothing. And I'm like,
nothing.
Okay, well, that was a weird first trade, but okay.
So as you can see, I had to finish this fucking book because you can't just leave a fucking story in the middle.
I probably would have if I had seen the second one on there. But
I didn't buy it until today, so I just read it before you came over. So
please fill us in.
Okay. So like the next issue starts with what happened to Victus Blaine. So it's like that story that he just picked up. And I don't know exactly how like I said, there's never any mention of an actual ghost or spirit or demon that Victus Blaine makes a deal with. But basically, he lives in a town in Maine, and it's not going well. It is the 1600s, and the crops aren't growing, nothing's going good. So he's kind of losing his faith in God, and that's obviously in the town that's very religious and everything. And so for some reason he gets called to the bog one night by something because he's praying just out loud, not necessarily to God, maybe just saying like, I need something or whatever. And then, and then the bog calls to him and tells him like, come forth. And then that's where he learns the phrase, or like the bog tells him like, if you give, you will receive. And the give is he's got to make a sacrifice into the bog, and then prosperity will happen to him.
Makes sense.
Yeah, of course, as you do. And so he sacrifices the lover or the suitor, the guy who's trying to woo his daughter. And so,
nice.
Yeah, that's basically, and then she
potential son-in-law. Yeah, let's kill him.
It's not a son-in-law because they're not married yet, but it's like she's,
potential.
That's why I said it's her suitor or whatever. Yeah. It's the guy who's trying to, what do they call it? See Anne or see like in The Patriot, where he's like, I'd like to call on your daughter or whatever. It's like that. And so he like kills that guy because he's like, fuck that guy. Like, like he's trying to get with my daughter. Like, fuck that guy. So he throws that guy in the bog, and that's the beginning of this curse. So what I gather just from like, and they don't explain the curse. There's no like, now it is sealed, and forevermore my relatives will give you a person every year or whatever, and if not, then we will be taken.
Oh, there's no
none of that.
There's no line
explanation
like that
of any of that shit.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I'm like, we're just assuming the curse is because the dad or the grandpa says when he seals that dude up in the wall, it's coming for me. So obviously, if I kill this guy, it will placate whatever's coming for him. So that's what I get from it. They don't explain that at all. It's very like obfuscated or whatever, like the what's going on with this deal or curse or whatever. So yeah, and then do you want me to spoil the whole book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we not want to spoil it for our listeners?
I don't want to spoil the whole book because maybe they want to go read it. I will say I liked this whole story overall with the second book, ending. There just was a little bit of, there was a lot of, we're dropping like clues and breadcrumbs to these things, but we're not fully answering your questions. And there is no like full closure on exactly what happened with the bog and like why, or like what exactly happens. I wasn't exactly sure how they defeat it either. Like, it didn't fully make sense to me why they were able to defeat it the way they were. So I don't want to spoil that book. because if they like the ending of this and they want to continue, but there is like big fights that happen with like bog monster and stuff, and there is some kind of closure, but it's not necessarily the closure you would think for.
So the Swamp Thing monster comes back.
The Swamp Thing monster does come back and actually like kicks some ass and stuff. So
nice.
Or starts fighting them. So, and I'm assuming maybe that's the curse. Maybe that monster is like it's gonna come if you don't give, it will take. It will get its price with this monster. So maybe that's why he killed Charles, because Charles wasn't giving in the way that he wanted. Charles was trying to help humanity with his pharmaceutical company, as all pharmaceutical company owners do.
He was people first.
Oh, of course, yeah. As his house showed, it was very, very much
very modest means.
Yes, so he was the poorest executive of a pharmaceutical company there was.
He only did stock buybacks once.
His
a year
house only cost $100 million.
Yes.
Right. But anyway, yeah. So John, what would you give it? What did you think?
So I'll give my rating a caveat and an asterisk for this one. I will, being that I know a little more of the story, and I'll get to know all the story, obviously, and
well, I would say maybe rate this one volume like say what you would have rated it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So mine is going to get that star on it, the asterisk. I would give this one a 6. So I enjoyed it, and I liked where it was going, and I liked the art a lot. I liked the designs of the monster, and all of the creepy stuff in it was very cool. I liked all of that. But yeah, it just fell a little flat for me as far as like A, where it ends, and then B, like you said, kind of like hinting at things, but then I didn't get anything in this first.
Yeah,
one.
like what's going on?
Anything.
No idea. It was all atmosphere and like
and then I'm like, okay, like that one, the one issue we start to get a little backstory, and I'm like, oh, good. Now, nope, nothing.
Yeah, it cuts away before you. Get
okay,
anything.
Well, all right then. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6. But again, that's the asterisk because, like I said, I know obviously there's a little more to it, and then there are some cooler things that happen. But yeah, it just didn't it was fun, and I enjoyed it, and I definitely would like to continue reading, but it just didn't. It didn't quite give enough that I think a first trade should to get you to keep reading the story.
Yeah, I feel like this should have been
just
both trades together in all 8 issues, at least to make it because what they could do is if they did that, then trade 1 is this story arc, and you want to know what the fuck is exactly going on, and then they could just do an ongoing and give you more of that backstory that you want. There's a couple series that are doing that a little bit better. Silver Coin, each issue is a standalone story, but it all ties together with this silver coin that is cursed, and then every 6 issue or every sixth issue, he will give you the origin of the coin through time or whatever, so it explains the lore, and so it ties all these stories together well.
Oh, nice.
I really like that. So it's very this isn't an ongoing. This is just the trade, the one story. So it's kind of what the fuck? And maybe they could do a season 2 or whatever of it and explain more, but it definitely leaves you left me unsatisfied with the answers we got, of which there wasn't any. I didn't think. It was very, very little of I'm inferring a lot of this mythology myself just from what you're showing, but they did not explain anything explicitly. Like I said, there's literally a written manuscript, and the guy could have been and so I sold my soul to the bog monster, and I didn't quite understand it. Even that, maybe he didn't understand it either, but he's it called to me, it said give and it will receive, so I did it and I received. So this is what's going on, and then maybe 1 year you have or one of the issues you have a flashback of a year that he was I don't want to kill anybody, and then it shows oh, it's gonna fucking murder me, but so I have to do it, kind of thing, something like that, where it's more explicitly spelled out. Some people like this kind of ethereal background story that doesn't really you should make it kind of spooky because it doesn't fill in all the holes for you. People like holes sometimes in these supernatural stories. Maybe you don't want it all spelled out for them, but I do. I like this. I would like it if it was a little bit more spelled out. So I'm going to give it a 6 too. I think it was solid, actually. As a read, it really flew by. and it was well done. Like the pacing of it was really well done, and like it leaves you right there. Like the kid's like, what's going on, Chase? Oh, the water. And then it leaves you hanging. So you got to read the second volume, you know? So like that's good. Like if you're trying to sell books like that, but if you're trying to sell books like that, give me a little bit more in the exactly what's happening. How did this monster exactly get defeated at the end? Did it get defeated at the end? I don't even know if it got fully defeated at the end. Maybe it just stopped the curse.
Yeah, you turn the page and the eye opens back up.
Yeah, exactly. Or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 6. You're going to give it a 6. We already kind of said, but we are reading Ghost World next week. So that's the start of our bi-monthly podcast now. So we'll do that one. And then on the 3rd week of November, we will do, which is Thanksgiving week?
I think this is the week of Thanksgiving, yeah.
Maybe the week before. I can't remember. I don't know exactly the timing of it. But yeah, it's probably, I think it is the Thanksgiving week. But yeah, that will be
only comics about turkeys next month.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there are any comics just about turkeys.
Just about turkeys?
Yet.
That we're coming up with all the ideas that we know y'all want.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna read Ghost World. So there is a movie. So I don't know if you guys want to check that out beforehand. But the book itself is by Daniel Klaus. It is like an alt comic that appeared in a anthology series called 8 Ball over like a span of years. So these were all like little mini stories, little vignettes that were issue by issue with a bunch of other series as well that he was writing at the same time in 8 Ball.
I feel like if you liked Ghost World, this is like you like Daria and like that kind of.
Very much so.
Okay, it seems like it fits into that crowd.
Okay, so this is from the early 90s. I think the series might have even started in the late 80s. So this predates that. So this is actually what Daria came from. So,
okay.
Like that sensibility
angsty,
of those angsty girls that are wearing, ironic glasses of their grandma and shit like that. That's all from this.
Nice.
Daniel Klaus created a whole subculture unto himself without trying to. Like he was just like, this is my sensibilities. And then people liked it so much they were like, that's me. And then they would, fill in and dress like that and shit. So
nice.
So yeah, I like that a lot. It definitely has, like you said, a Daria is a good call on that. So it's a good feel or a similar feel to that. So yeah, you got anything else, John?
Nope. I think with that we'll see you on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.